Vernon, just your thoughts on this season of the SA20. A lot of really good games, exciting talents coming out. Just your thoughts on how the season has gone.
Yeah, I think Graham and his team has done a wonderful job. I think this year cricket has certainly been a lot better. From a context where bowlers are competing a lot better, I think season 1 and 2 it was really dominated, by the batters. But I think this year there's been a real bounce back by the bowlers. So certainly the skill level is up a bit. So. And that's fantastic to see. I think, being a bowler myself, to see the bowlers go away from the game and improve in their skill sets. So it's wonderful. I think the matchup between bat and ball has been a lot closer. And a couple of youngsters that that really put up their hands this year. I think Andre Pretorius batting alongside Joe Root. I think that was phenomenal to see how the youngster has come to the fore and now he's growing in confidence. So I think this year's edition has been magnificent, and I'm certainly looking forward to these playoff games.
So, how this league has contributed to the resurgence of South African cricket in last 2-3 years? I mean, you are playing the World Test Championship final. Your team is doing good across the formats.
Yeah, I think it was massively needed. I think in South Africa to have a T20 league, to give the guys the exposure. I think what it has done also by having this, these kind of leagues, you have foreign international players that come down and interact with the domestic players, which is important. To rub shoulders with the likes of Joe Roots, the real international stars, Kane Williamsons, and these guys. And as much as it is a T20 comp, I think there's a lot of guys that, from a personal perspective, would learn a great deal. So certainly much needed, and I think you can see it's starting to pay off. Like you just mentioned, to make the World Test Championship final was a massive up for South Africa. I think also, let's not forget, South Africa being in the World Cup T20 final. Obviously, we lost against India in that final. So I think all in all, the cricket in South Africa is going the right direction.
And for the first time, you have an Indian player in SA20.
Yeah, I think Dinesh Karthik. He's a wonderful athlete. He's a wonderful professional, and it's great to have him over here. I think also for the first time. We've seen Robin Utapa, they joined us for a brief commentary stint. So it's nice to interact from an IPL, experience. I think many of these guys, the youngsters especially, would learn a great deal from, Karthik as well as Utapa, having been a part of the IPL setup for a number of years. And it's important that, we take the game forward, from that point of view. I think a lot of these youngsters, Andre Pretorius, in years to come, might end up, in one of these IPL teams, and you'd have learned a great deal, and would have had great insight up front, learning from a guy like Dinesh Karthik, being in the same changing room as him. So wonderful to have these guys, form part of the league. I think the standard of the league is really, has been set high, and hopefully, we'll see this league, continue from strength to strength.
Vernon, just follow up to that question. You mentioned Dinesh Karthik being part of this team, helping the youngsters. It also helps in a way the reach for SA20 having Indian players. Any thoughts in terms of SA20 bringing in the more Indian players, or maybe the active players? If you have been part of those discussion wherein CSA or the SA20 and BCCI, if I may add, bringing in those kind of conversations, your opinion on that, or is there been any talks on that?
Yeah, I think, obviously the IPL has set the standard. I think that's the bar. I think, if you ask many a guy who's playing in the SA20, they would say, this league ranks, probably number 2 to the IPL. So it'd be wonderful to have some of those Indian players, like you said, the current players, which I'm sure, will sell out crowds in South Africa, because, as much as, we love our own cricket, but we also love Indian cricket and we love the IPL. So hopefully that will be part of the talks going forward, to have some of the bigger names, come over and partake in this SA20. But like I said, I think it's a phenomenal league. I think it's probably one of the better ones going around in terms of, the cricket being played. But, to see the fans, the crowds, the stadium being sold out from game one. And I think also a lot of the crowds are starting to take off the home teams, which is obviously incredible to see. And hopefully, like I said, we can see some of those Indian superstars, in the years to come, partaking in the SA20.
Vernon, you mentioned something about, Luanda Pretorius. Can you also talk a bit about how South Africa seems to be suddenly producing a lot of really talented youngsters? As Pretorius, is David Bedingham, Rickelton, we saw today, Mafaka, just a lot of in the 18 to 23-year-old. What's happened?
Yeah, I think, South Africa's always had a rich pool of talent. I think, what a tournament like this really do is presents guys with opportunity. And I think, with having a 16 tournament, it allows your tourists to come in and really excel, and express himself. Again, I will say it, you've got youngsters in the squad, Queen Amapaka being another one, and you rub shoulders with real international superstars. And I think that's the confidence that these youngsters will take away at the end of the day, having been in the same change room. Sometimes it's not about the performance, but it's about the learning that takes place, within that, changing room, within that squad. I think the Paul Royals, it's a pity that I've lost Joe Root, to the tournament, because I think he's been exceptional. I think if you ask me about players who have really made an impact in teams, I think Joe Root's probably the one that comes to mind straight away. So he's left a massive legacy in terms of the experience that he's carried over to those younger players. And like I say, it's invaluable lessons learned for these youngsters. But again, I will go back. You look at South Africa as a whole. Very often you'll say, "Oh well, South Africa's lost Philander, Steyn, Walker. Who's going to follow in their boots?" And all of a sudden, you've got Nokia, Janssen, Rabada. So the talent has always been there. It's about affording players opportunity and platform to go out there and showcase their talent. And I think this SA20 has been a wonderful platform for them.
It's interesting to talk about fast bowlers. Very interesting time for them now. Of course, the batsmen just come to swing their background, but fast bowlers have to preserve their body. How difficult is it for a pacer to pick and choose when to be aggressive or when to control? Just to look after the body.
I think it's such a valuable chat that you just raised there, a valuable topic. I think, with games coming thick and fast, you have to make sure that you look after your body. I think one, recovery is massively important. I think also from a bowling load management point of view, I think your fitness trainers as well as your physios, I think they will have to guide the conversation in terms of what's allowed for a particular player. I think you look at the seasons now. I mean, there's leagues popping up everywhere. So, bowlers want to play, obviously the maximum amount of leagues. But at the end of the day, from bowlers' perspective, you only have X amount of balls in your body. And you want to make sure that, you deliver those balls at the right time, at the right competitions. You look at Champions Trophy coming up, I think that will be a massive talking point as well. The likes of Rabadas, and we've seen him being rested in the last week. So, but obviously, playoff times, they have to play. So, it's a massive talking point. I think even when we were playing, what's a good number? Where do you find a break to rest? I think in the modern day calendar, there's almost not their time to rest, but it's a difficult conversation to be had. But I think from a management and player management point of view, it's a much needed chat.
Vernon, last time when we spoke, you talked very highly about Jasprit Bumrah, who was just won ICC Player of the Year award. But what advice would you love to give him about the workload management, since he's playing a lot of cricket and Indian pace attack is banking on him?
Yeah, I think he's really set the standard. I think he's a phenomenal bowler. I think his skill set, the ability to shift the space up and down, I think it's just been a wonderful effort for the game. And again, I will say, I'm talking about workloads now. I think it's more about the Indian management, how they manage him. And, I would say, you look at a guy like Jasprit Bumrah and you want him to be playing all the key series, all the key tournaments. So they'll have to manage his workload in between tournaments. Obviously, IPL coming up, you want the player like that to be available for most games, but therein lies the trick, how do you manage him, throughout an IPL season, because there's also plenty of games as a player. So, and also overall, I mean, if you look at the amount of games that India play, obviously over a calendar year, I mean, that load is quite massive. So I would say you perhaps want to look at playing him in all the main features, and your so-called lesser teams, you give other bowlers an opportunity. But again, it's such a tough chat to be had, because as a bowler, you want to go out there, there's records to be broken, so you want to keep playing. But again, I think he's a phenomenal talent, and hopefully, India can get it right to manage a bowler like that.
Vernon, sticking to that Indian players thing, just wanted to ask you a wish list hypothetical question. Among the active Indian players, any three names that you would love to see here in SA20? Because India has a legacy in terms of Kohli, Rohit Sharma, but you have the likes of Samson, Abhishek, Tilak also coming in. So give me three names, your wish list kind of to see in SA20.
Yeah, I think Surya Kumar would be right up there. Jasprit Bumrah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, his skill set on these kind of wickets would be phenomenal to watch in action. And then I think, you want to see a guy like Kohli. I think, he's obviously built a massive name for himself over the last decade or so. And I think he'd be a wonderful attribute, to the advert of SA20.
What's your prediction for the final? Any guesswork?
My prediction for the final.
The winner.
I'm going to be biased here. I hope my Cape Town can pull it across the line this year. I think.
And one more question. You have 4 semi-finalists for seating championship.
Wow, you're throwing me under the bus here now. But I'm going to go, obviously, India. I think they will be contender, obviously, playing in subcontinent conditions. Australia, they're always there and thereabout when it comes to big tournaments. I'm going to throw a spin in the works. I think South Africa's got a lot of confidence out of the last T20 World Cup, so that will be number 3. And number 4, let's go with England.
Vernon, importance of the SA20 with the home World Cup coming up.
Yeah, I think one, it's massively important, and I think a lot of these guys will get exposures of playing, in these conditions. And looking ahead to that World Cup, you want to keep breeding these players in terms of being confident, in terms of understanding the playing style at these various different arenas that we find ourselves in South Africa. So massively, I would say a massive advantage for these guys to be able to play in a big tournament in front of home crowds, in obviously these various different conditions that you find yourself up against playing in South Africa.